Hey everyone, I'm here at ETH Denver. I'm here with Victoria. She is a media veteran in this space, former CEO of CoinTelegraph. I know all of y'all know about CoinTelegraph, and current co-founder of InCryptoLand. And today I'm going to pick her brain about all things media in the crypto space. So Victoria, just diving right in, I got to start with what I'm super curious about, your experience running CoinTelegraph, probably like the largest publication in this entire space. Can you share some experiences, thoughts, memories from your time there?
Yes, sure. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for inviting. Yeah, honestly, it was absolutely random story how I initially joined CoinTelegraph. I used to work for a tech startup as a product manager, and we were attending different international conferences. And at one of the conferences, I think it was back 2011, 2012, I just met one person randomly, and he told me about the idea of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Honestly, it sounded like something very strange, anarchist kind of idea, but it caught my attention and I decided to get into that. And I think back then, people mostly were hanging out at bitcointalk.org. I don't know if you're familiar with this one.
I remember that.
I don't think anyone is still there, but yeah, back then it was a big thing and everyone was discussing things there. And I think at that time, the media about the space were completely non-existent.
Very small.
Yeah.
Barely anyone covering.
Yeah, but I did start like connecting with different people through forums and through some meetups. There were, again, no conferences, just small meetups with geeky people. I think at the time they were like only men in the space, which was also quite funny. Yes, and then I started like working for a company for CoinTelegraph just as it started, and it was just 2 or 3 people there. Basically, there were almost no journalists who also even knew about this idea. So we needed to find just some general journalists and educate them about the space. There was like not many things happening in the industry in general back then. So I think we published at the start maybe one article per 2 days or per 3 days.
What a long way. It's like 20 articles per day now.
Yes, now it's absolutely big. And yeah, it was quite a journey because when I started, it was just 2 or 3 people, and when I was leaving, it was around 180 people on a team. Yeah.
So what year did you leave? Was it like 2019 or so?
Yeah, around that time.
Okay. And that's super fascinating. What was it like to kind of just scale and build out all the different, was it mainly just like written journalist articles, or did you like just...
There were articles, yes. We also always were running Twitter. And back then there were like different experts started appearing on this topic on Twitter. So we always tried to get their comments, to interview them, and people who already had some following, of course, they always shared the content we were producing. So this was like partly like our growth strategy on how we grew our Twitter initially. And then we also did a lot of partnerships with more statistics sites, like CoinMarketCap back then was already existing, CoinGecko as well. So we partnered with all of them and did a lot of cross-marketing promotion, and it helped a lot as well. But generally on the team, we didn't have anyone who had experience in running or in growing media. Right. So it was all just inventing a bicycle, experimenting, having fun. Something did work, something did not work. And for sure, like that's why when we also came up with this idea around the artworks, and we had all those artists producing those funny pictures.
Oh, I love those pictures.
Yes, so there is basically the whole team of illustrators who work on those artworks.
So distinctive. You can tell that style.
Yes, it's like one of the core pillars of the brand. Now everyone is familiar with this style. And I think Cointelegraph actually just recently launched some feature that you can mint an NFT from the article, which is also super fun. But yeah, and those visuals, of course, also motivated people to share because it was always fun. And then when already Cointelegraph was growing, people always wanted to have the like picture drawn in the Cointelegraph style. So we did have like this special expert section and people were sharing those avatars everywhere. Yeah, it was fun.
So, like you said, back then, the media space was very, like, not developed. Yeah, there's weren't a lot of competitors or people doing media in general. So back then with y'all were one of the only and biggest players. Can you talk a little bit about like how that felt per se? Was it like a lot of power or did it feel like people didn't want to interact with media? What was it like back then?
No, people did want to interact with media, but generally the space was not that big. At the time, it was really tiny and small. So I would not say that we were feeling ourselves as like holding so much power.
Okay, got it.
Definitely now when the industry is so huge, it's on completely different scale.
Yeah, and this leads me to my next question, which is more general, the state of crypto media. From your perspective, can you tell me what you think is like good about it right now, bad about it, what's missing? What's the future of this space?
I think generally not just in Web3, but in the media space now it's not only about news media, but also a lot about other kind of media channels, like even like your channel is also a media. And many people now are gathering news not from the news resources, but for example, from Twitter and from YouTube. And I think basically it's very often that the news triggers originally go on Twitter and then journalists pick it up and create the content based on that. So I would say nowadays a lot of content is generated through social media, TikTok, and PR, and all the media generally is now a lot about this new kind of media. And that's why all like current media publications also trying to have their own podcasts, their own YouTube channels, TikToks. But often audience just wants, for example, to watch some particular character, right, whom they trust. And they're just following you and they want to hear something you think and to hear news from you. So I would say for the like media currently, I think it would be a great strategy to have like powerful influencers in-house. So it is not just some media without any particular characters, but like people who audience know and whom they want to see. For sure, it's like controversial point because then the media brand would also be depending on this personality. And for example, if this personality wants to leave, how do you handle that? That would be hard, right? Because probably part of the audience would also flow like with this personality they liked.
Exactly.
Also, there are a lot of talks about decentralization of the media because for sure in all those stories we have seen around SBF, how all the general media was covering that there is so much lobbying and politics inside of the media.
Behind the scenes, like bribes.
Behind the scenes stories, corrupted journalists and all that. Definitely, I think there is a space to bring more decentralization to that aspect. I'm not sure if it like happens really quickly, and to be honest, again, there is so much politics in that. It would be like really hard to grow something like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's so interesting your your background because you went from running a media company and now you're doing more of the agency side. Like you coordinate between media and other like creators or whatnot. So I wanted to ask you, how does the crypto and Web3 space look as a whole from your agency perspective?
Generally, I think one of the problems I see, there are not many projects that trying to solve some real problems. There are a lot of just DeFi protocols which are generating yields, but there is no like something real in that. So from the agency standpoint, I would say I'm quite tired to try to come up with some creative ideas around that. So now we're hunting more after like really visionary people who want to change something in the world and build the product people actually need.
Yeah, that must be easier for you too if their product is very useful and widely adopted. Then that makes your job easier too.
It is definitely easier. Of course, it is always nice when you have a founder who really believes in his product, when it's product that interests the audience. With many device products, another problem is that many teams are anon teams.
Oh, yeah.
And then, for example, a lot of media stories and brand awareness often should be built around the founder and his opinions. And then, of course, like reputable media platforms, they don't even want to like talk to the projects who have those anonymous teams.
I don't like anonymous teams too because
What's your policy on that?
I feel like there's no accountability, you know, at least if you know someone, like you can go find them or something. But if you don't know who it is, they're so easy for them just to disappear.
Yes, big trustworthy influencers also very rarely would want to work with anonymous project because we also work with a number of influencers and we pitch our clients to them. And I definitely see this trend that people still want to see who they work with.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what all main services do you offer? I know you said you work with influencers, you do marketing, PR, but like what are the main services you offer to projects?
Mainly, I would say we do all directions of marketing for Web3 companies. And it really depends on the situation. With every company, we try to come up with really custom offer, so it would be relevant for them. Mainly, we do organic PR, meaning we pitch it organically to the journalists, so it is covered in the media. And now, again, organic PR is not just about journalists, but also about influencers, about podcasts,
Exactly.
about conferences, about thought leadership, about collaborations, like, for example, Twitter Spaces is now also a big thing, how you can get the coverage and brand awareness for the client. So now there are a lot of different channels you can use for the organic PR. Then, when companies just want to do small product update coverage, for example, we do media buy campaigns for them, publishing press releases and sponsor stories. And here we have a big media group. We work generally with all the media in the space and also outside of the Web3 space, like with TechCrunch, VentureBeat, and platforms like that, and help clients get covered there. And then we also do social media community growth. And here it's also very tricky. Like as a founder of Web3 project, you should be really careful choosing an agency. I have heard so many stories that agencies just take like 200K and then don't deliver anything,
I've heard that too.
or just bring you a lot of bot traffic.
I've heard that too.
People who are hunting for airdrops, and then you have a Twitter and Telegram with, for example, 20K followers, but zero engagement.
Exactly. I won't name any names, but I've heard that a lot too. So you do a lot of services. So do you mainly work with big companies and big teams, or do you also work with like medium sized perhaps?
No, for sure we also work with medium sized. For example, we are partnered with many different VCs. and we help them with the deal flow. And then when the project is ready for the fundraiser announcement or for the launch, then we do PR and marketing for those like more startup stage products. But for sure, we prefer to work with the products who have the live product, and when it's not just an IDO, ICO situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for everyone watching, as you can tell, Victoria really knows how to like help brands grow their presence in the space. So I want to ask her, for people viewing who may be builders, maybe working on their own project or their own company, what tips do you have for them in terms of like growing their presence and the brand in this space?
So many companies, when they think of the news coverage, they just wrap up a simple press release about the feature update, for example, and they do not really research what is happening on the news agenda, what are like the main topics that are currently discussed. And for sure, the founders and the team is very engaged about the product. But if you think from the readers or from the audience perspective, you do not just want to read about some feature. You want to read about some interesting topic. So what we usually try to do is to like really see on each vertical what is going on and what is the main story. And it is sometimes even better to do, for example, some brand mention in the relevant topic and try to come up with a story, like with some spicy story around the brand, rather than just talk about your features. This way, like the first journalist, which will much more likely to pick up these kind of stories organically, and secondly, it will get much more traction in terms of readership. This is for the media side. And for the growth through partnerships, I think founders should always think on how to build, like grow your product, not just paying for marketing, but also through good high quality partnerships. With CoinTelegraph, to illustrate, we did grow a lot because we had this partnership with CoinMarketCap and other traffic with significant like audience. Yeah, and I see a lot that like powerful products and projects, they do a lot of collaborations and a lot of cross promotions. So for example, some projects, they run just airdrop campaigns, and that's when they get this non-quality airdrop audience. But like airdrop is not necessarily a bad thing if you do it in the right way. Targeting specific audience, for example, you would find a win-win partnership with some protocol integration, and then you run a campaign specifically for the users, providing some value around your product. Then you will get like a high quality interested audience. So you should be careful on instruments and the channels from where you get the traffic.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right what you said about like pitching different journalists and whatnot, because like for us, from my perspective, I want to deliver juicy content for the audience that they care about, right? So if I interview a founder like I did yesterday, I ask him about DAOs or about NFTs or regulation for the most part, right? So they're giving their expertise to the audience, and then maybe they sprinkle in a little bit of their project or their new feature. But if we just only is like, oh, what is this new feature you're building? That's so boring to the audience. No one's going to listen through to that.
Yes, by the way, in your videos, for example, what you say works better, integration or a dedicated video about the product?
Ooh, that's hard. I would say it just in general, usually dedicated. But if it's something that's like smaller, easier to understand, and can sit alone by itself, then I think dedicated works well. Like if it's not too complicated, then you don't need a 10-minute video about it. In like 160 seconds, they can get the idea and decide if they want to go buy it or go find out more.
People are definitely into short videos now.
Yeah.
Are you doing TikTok as well or not?
Sometimes YouTube Shorts. Yeah. Okay, so I want to shift gears a little bit. I know you mentioned before that when you first started in this industry, it was like 99.99% men. Now it's a little bit better. Like at ETH Denver, there's definitely more women, but I still want to get your perspective as someone who's been through the evolution of the space. What is it like now compared to before and just in general?
It is definitely getting much better now. There are more female-oriented communities like and NFTs like World of Women. The Boys Club is great. Unstoppable Domains is also do like a women leadership program. And I see that there are in general more ladies in the space and on including some executive positions. As I mentioned, it was completely different before, and I'm super happy to see that it's changing. I do think it is fun when like the industry is much more balanced in terms of like gender. So yeah, I'm really happy that now it's progressing.
Thank you. That's great to hear that perspective. So we've talked about a lot. We've talked about your time at CoinTelegraph, the state of media, your perspective as an agency founder who helps brands about all sorts of things in the Web3 and crypto space. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share about anything we talked about today?
I am interested to see what will be happening like in the next 2-3 years. I really hope there will be bigger number of products and projects who trying to solve real world solutions. Yeah, so I love now the intersections between AI and Web3 market and AI market in general. I hope we will be on the next like bull run soon. Honestly, I'm not such a fan of crazy volatility. I like that during bear market, the real builders stay on the market and the bad actors start kind of disappearing. And I think the space is much more mature now. Probably there will be more and more regulation coming in the space. And after that, I believe it will be just more probably stable growth rather than this crazy volatility we used to have before.
Yeah, the volatility is crazy even for us media on the media side, right? And that actually brings up a question I have. So you started InCryptoLand agency in 2019, 2020?
2020, yeah.
Okay, so were things pretty crazy for you as well during the bull run of 2021?
Yeah, it was really crazy.
Like just a lot of projects, a lot of opportunity, or what?
A lot of projects, but by the way, from the PR and marketing standpoint, it is easier to get brand awareness, I would say, during the bear market. And from the budget perspective as well, all the influencers and media platforms and all the paid opportunities.
Definitely
There
cheaper.
are, yes, a lot of discounts and also many influencers during the bull run, you would not even be able to talk to them. They are so overwhelmed, they are not even answering to you. So it is easier to get some new good connections during the bear market. And for example, for like current projects, I think it's a good time to find some medium and small sized influencers, but who you enjoy working with and just have a long-term partnership. And then like if this influencer grows in future, it's a great upside for the project.
And I'm curious because you run an agency. Did you like scale up a lot your team size during the bull run and then had to cut back down, or did you keep it pretty lean the whole time?
Not really. We did not do any layoffs lately. Like we have the core team and they are still all with us. Just during the bull run, we were finding more contractors and partners to work with.
That's good because I know like even on the media side, the bull run has everyone thinking that it would go up forever. So people hired like crazy, like more writers, researchers, hosts. They hired or they bought office spaces for everybody and had to pull back eventually.
Yeah, I'm really mindful about hiring people for the team. Like now, every person who is on the team, we're really enjoying working together. And I think one of the key talents of the founder is to find a good team.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I would prefer to keep the smaller team, but really high quality team rather than just hire just because it's a bull run.
So you and I guess your co-founder is your job mainly to, well, I mean, you do everything obviously, but is one of your main jobs to like just go to conferences and find clients and whatnot?
Networking and building brand awareness. So both of us are now like speakers at all the major events. So it's good for our personal brands, for the company brand, yes, and general networking.
Got it. Thank you so much. I'll leave Victoria's like social media website in CryptoLand.
Yeah.
Thanks for having this conversation.
Thank you so much.